Brilliant, thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name's Sue Green, proud owner and founder of Evergreen HR and HR Pulse. And it's great to have the opportunity to tell you more about myself. So, what I plan to do is give you some insights in terms of my background, where I've come from, and also why I've set up my business and the ethos around that. And also talk a little bit more about the services that I offer. And what I'm keen to do is make sure that this is about updating you on some of the changes that are coming up next year. I'm sure you've heard, coupled with the autumn budgets, bandied around what's happening around the Employment Rights Bill. So I'm not going to go into a huge amount of detail, just enough to give you some insights. So here goes. So a little bit about me. I've worked in HR for over 25 years now. For those of you that can remember, this was a time when fax machines were the latest fashion and mobile phones were like house bricks. So it was quite a while ago. I'm fully qualified as full member of the Chartered Institute of Personnel and Development, which is kind of a rubber stamp for HR people. And I've also got a master's degree in strategic HR, which I did in later life. Got a lot of experience in corporates. That's where I cut my teeth. So I started with the NHS, then I went into the commercial world, worked for NTL. My last employer was Rolls-Royce, not the cars. It was the airplane engines section that I worked with. And then I set up my business, Evergreen HR. Can't believe I'm saying this now, June 2011. It's just absolutely whizzed by the time. And the client base tends to be SMEs and charities. And I've purposefully gone for that size of organisation because that's where I feel like I can really partner up and offer a quality service to my clients and help to demonstrate tangible results. The approach that I apply with all of my clients is very much about partnering up with them. I get the challenges that business owners are up against because you're spinning plates. You know, you're a salesperson, you're a people manager, you're having to manage your finances, you're doing a lot of things. So I get the challenges. So I speak business owner language because I am one. I like to work as a partner with the clients and very much understand the challenges of that client and provide a practical, commercially sound as well as legally compliant approach, which is going to help them to move forward and grow. Some of the biggest mistakes that SMEs make, which does have a ripple effect, are in areas such as outdated documents. So what I mean by that is things like contracts of employment, policies, procedures, not being compliant with current legislation. And sometimes, not always, but I come across business owners where they think the easiest approach is just to get something off the internet. And I call it a patchwork approach to people management. And the danger associated with that is you don't know where that information's come from and actually how relevant it is to current legislation in the UK. That's from the legal side. But if you think about it commercially as well, let's play out a scenario. You've got a new employee. They've been with you, say, for a month. It doesn't work out. What happens if they walk away with your customer data? Where's your document that you've got in place to protect you as an organisation? And that's where I can help commercially as well by putting robust documents in place, such as a contract of employment, which would cover that off. Poor performance management. Time and time again, I see situations in organisations where a manager's been promoted into a senior role and they've been promoted based on the fact that they're very good at selling or they're very good at finances, but it's not to say that they're going to know carte blanche how to manage an employee. So, you know, my role in that is, as well as being an educator, It's also about providing a solution which is going to help organisations get out of those difficult situations. Provide advice on sickness management, um, and also, issues that come up on a day-to-day basis. If we think of the impacts of the autumn budget, I strongly suspect that's going to mean that employers are going to start rethinking what they do, particularly in the new year, around how many people they're going to employ, how they employ them, what their organisational structure needs to look like. And I've actually put a newsletter out this morning which talks about, on the back of that, areas to think about. So if you're not on my newsletter, please get in touch and I'll add you to it, because I provide some really helpful insights around that. So what's the real cost of getting it wrong? So let's put some money behind it, the financials. I'm seeing increasingly that employees are becoming more and more aware of their employment rights. And the real risk, worst case scenario for employers, is that an employee puts in a claim for unfair dismissal, which at the moment is after 2 years, or that you put in a claim for discrimination. There's a number of ways in which they can put in a claim. There are a number of costs associated with that. And as you can see there, these are indicative costs, not exact, but these are what it can cost employers for, firstly, defending an employment tribunal claim, but then also, let's say you haven't got the right documents in place, you haven't got a robust process in place, you've got it wrong. You've got your compensatory award if the employee wins the claim. And then coupled with that, the stress, the time, cost associated with it, the reputational risk. As soon as someone raises an employment tribunal claim, then that then goes out into the public domain. So if you're a growing organisation and you're looking to get good people on board, there's a risk that people are going to know that there's employment tribunal claims against you. We're all up against it in terms of cost. I mentioned a moment ago about the impact of the autumn budget. Organisations can't afford to be defending employment tribunal claims right now. There's a real risk associated with that and their ability to stay stable in the market. So here's a solution. These are the key things that we support clients on. So compliance, making sure that they've got robust contracts of employment, as I said, that aren't just legally compliant, but commercially sound. Helping and advising on day-to-day people management issues. Could be around absence management. It could be around people aren't doing their job properly. And then when things go wrong, let's say you need to have an investigation if an employee raises a grievance or a disciplinary investigation. We'll do that investigation for you to make sure that you've got a robust approach to understanding the situation, which will then signpost to you what the best approach is to take on the back of that. And then we'll also help with projects, restructuring, a number of other implementation of new processes and systems will help with that too. Also help to skill up managers around some of the people management essentials. I talked earlier about new managers coming on board. We can provide bespoke training to organisations to help with those difficult conversations, how to discuss underperformance, how to discuss absences, how to conduct investigations if you want to do it in-house, or in essence, how to manage stress within the team. We can also help with recruitment. So what we'll do is actually put a number of checks and balances in place to help you to get the best people for your organisation, which not only have the skills that you need, but can also help to have the cultural requirements to fit into your organisation. more often than not, a cultural fit is more important than someone being able to do the job effectively. So we'll put the robust job descriptions, person specifications in place. We'll actively go to niche channels to find the right people for you. We'll put in place practical tools to tease out the right kind of people to fit within your organisation, and we'll support you end to end in terms of managing that. So this is what our clients say about Evergreen HR. I'll give you a few seconds to read that. Is that enough time? Can I have a thumbs up from someone? Marvellous, thank you. So the second arm of my business is called HR Pulse. And with all of this 25 odd years knowledge of HR, what I wanted to do is bring a software solution to the market which encapsulated all that fruitful knowledge and experience so that it gives employers autonomy rather than having to rely on me or one of my colleagues or another HR consultant to get advice. They can get it all in the system, which makes HR Pulse incredibly unique. It was originally launched 10 years ago, so I guess you could say I was kind of ahead of my time in terms of AI. And what we've done now is redeveloped it 3 years ago so that it provides all of those interactive tools that employers need to manage their teams with confidence. So what does it do? It stores data, it streamlines your processes and systems, so it automates leave booking. Employees can go in there and see how much holiday they've got rather than keep coming to you and saying, how much holiday have I got? And can I book this day off? It all goes through the system. It'll grow with the organisation. It's also got interactive tools based on typical people management scenarios, such as disciplinary, absence management, flexible working. And it'll ask questions, and depending on the manager's response, it'll signpost in bite-sized chunks exactly what to do next in very simple terms, and it'll give them the document to do it with. So it's incredibly user friendly. And I'm very excited to announce that we're actually going in through a wave of upgrades, which will be in place next month, where it's going to integrate with zero payroll. So it's going to be a single source of truth for both your HR and accessing employee pay slips as well. So there's loads of brilliant tools in there that you can access. So again, I want the client to speak for themselves. I'll let you see what some of our clients have said about our tools. When you've read it, I'll go for the first thumbs up. Thank you. And another bit of client feedback. Okay, thank you. So, what next? I'm going to just touch on the Employment Rights Bill. You've probably heard a lot about this. It's been described as the biggest upgrade to worker rights in a generation. Certainly, there's a huge raft of proposals and changes that the government wants to put in place. It's still in discussion between Parliament and the House of Lords at the moment, but some of the key insights and proposals around that is that they'd like to introduce a day one right to unfair dismissal. As I mentioned earlier, to qualify to put in a claim for unfair dismissal, it's currently 2 years. The government would like to make it a day one right. hot off the press. I think agreement has been really reached that it's probably going to be a 6 month period to qualify for an unfair dismissal claim. But that's yet to be agreed. Also looking at making statutory sick pay a day one right, rather than having you waiting days. Probationary periods, I think they'd like to make those more structured and compulsory, which I think would fit in with the unfair dismissal approach. Um, 0 hours contracts. They want to put more, what they've described this as is they want to eradicate exploitative. This is how it's described, exploitative 0 hours contracts. So they're looking to put in place guaranteed hours if people do regular hours under 0 hours contracts, reasonable notice for shifts, and also compensation in the event that the company needs to cancel or change shift arrangements. What they're also looking at is the introduction of a fair work agency. I have actually experienced this in my corporate days. There's some European countries who have a similar approach. So it's a governing body which, in essence, has the ability to investigate workplace complaints, issue enforcement notices and fines, so that bringing multi-claimant cases on behalf of employees and recovering underpaid wages, potentially going back for years. So this is something in addition to employment tribunals, and they'll have the right to go into organisations. So I think it's important to just highlight that at this point in time, none of this is law. They're indicating it could come in place from April next year and beyond, but it's more a case of watch this space. But if you sign up to my newsletter, I'll keep you up to date with those changes. So, who would I like to meet? So, people who have employees or who have contacts who employ people. I'd love to speak to accountants, finance directors, payroll providers, and business coaches. And it'd be great to have a one-to-one. And let's explore how I can help you and your team and help to get some sanity back in the situation. And also give a demo about HR Pulse and give you some insights about what all the fuss is about. And there's my contact details. And thank you all very much for your time. Any questions?
Hi, Sue. We spoke quite recently, but obviously there's been some changes this morning, as you've alluded to, with the it's a day one rights to 6 months for the unfair dismissal.
Mhm.
I do think with minimum wage going up, the extra employee rights, it's all positive things for the employees, but it
Mm,
does mean that an employer is less likely to take a risk on someone, particularly if from day one and now from 6 months potentially they can be on the hook for a claim.
mm.
What's your take on that? Is it becoming too skewed in favor of the employee to encourage growth for businesses, or is it where it should be?
I think, in my opinion, I think it's important that we have got laws in place to protect employees, but I think there's a lot of challenges on employers right now. And I think this is just adding another layer to it, which I think it's a timing thing more than anything. Is now the right time to be putting more pressure on employers when you've got a lot of things going on, the minimum wage is increasing, um, people are struggling financially at the moment. And I do think that there needs to be the opportunity for to employers to have more of a say as well. I know that, the Chamber of Commerce has presented opportunities for employers to do that, but I do think that there's a lot of pressure on employers right now. So I think on the reverse of that, what's really important for employers is to just make sure that they've got their ducks in a row. So if they do need to employ people, then it's about making sure that you're absolutely crystal clear in terms of the DNA of the person that you want to recruit. um, that you go through a robust recruitment process. So that could be not just an interview, it could be about doing desktop exercises, anything to make sure that you're teasing out the DNA of that person. And then once you get them on board, having a robust contracts in place. So I think there are mitigations around it, Sam, that employers can start preparing for now ahead of time and before the legislation comes in place.
Thank you.
Sue, I was interested to see the thing about the Fair Work Agency and the recovering unpaid wages. From our perspective, in terms of dealing with insolvency procedures, clearly we deal with claims from employees under the Employment Rights Act.
Mm,
But also we have creditor claims from employees that whose rights are not fully covered off by the ERA cover.
mm.
I'm just wondering though whether the Fair Work Agency is going to sort of really open up an further area of delay and uncertainty if it's going to open up the chance for people to effectively go back over old grievances.
Quite possibly. It's difficult to say. At the moment, it's a proposal, and I think, the government will need to iron out what the spans of control are going to be around the Fair Work Agency. But there is a risk that previous claims could come up. But I think, there's got to be a bit of balance here, in terms of what employees are able to put claims in through the Fair Work Agency, because otherwise, there's going to be a bit of a doubling up here between what the employment tribunals do and what the Fair Work agencies do. So I think what's really important is that the government puts some robust um, detail around this in terms of what is and what isn't outside of the Fair Work Agency remit.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Any more questions, anyone?
Yeah, I've got one, Sue. I'm currently with a company called Krona for outsourced HR support, and they operate a system called Bright HR.
Hmm.
How does HR Pulse compare to that? Does it functionality wise, is it pretty similar? And
I have heard of Bright HR. In terms of, and I've heard of a lot of various HR software solutions. Um, what I would say with HR Pulse is that it provides advisory tools. So it stores data, it automates leave booking, as I believe Bright HR does. But what it also does is takes you through step by step how to manage recruitment, how to manage disciplinaries. And it also gives you a very comprehensive suite of documents so that step by step, you can manage that particular process. But maybe it'd be helpful for us to book a session so that you can have a look at HR Pulse and see what it looks like in comparison.
yeah, definitely. I think it's one of those where it was sold. So the Bright HR was sort of sold on the premise that it did quite a lot, but it has effectively become a holiday booking tool, and that's it. We don't
Right.
tend to use the other features, so I would be interested. I think I'm due up in June to come away from that, so I'd be very interested in having a chat with you about what HR Pulse does.
Absolutely. And what I'd highlight as well is it's also got announcement tools and various other things. So aside from the HR side of things, it's also a good source of communication to share documents with your employees as well. So yeah, absolutely. Let's get some time booked in.
Brilliant, thank you.
So I'd be interested in looking at it as well because we use Charlie HR, but
Okay.
it's just ended up being a place where people go to book holiday. So if there's something that gives more than that, especially around managing staff in terms of performance and things like that. That'd be really interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get booked sometime booked in.